Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Happy Mindset Monday. Well, welcome. My dog is chewing on her bone in the background. I hope that's not too distracting. Happy Mindset Monday. Thank you for joining me this morning. We have a topic today that I think is very prevalent and relevant to many of us as we're trading and potentially also in life as well. So relevant to trading and relevant to life as well. So today we're going to spend some time talking about, I'll leave it as a surprise so you can find out what is coming. So we've talked about a lot of times looking at situations, and we have emotions that come from the situation, right? Let me just move myself over here to make sure I know what's coming. All right. Well, if you're in the chat, go ahead and say good morning before we get started, so we can, so I can say hello to you and know who's here. I see there's a few of you logged on already, but everybody's quiet so far. So if you are here, say hello, drop a comment, let me know where you're viewing from, and just let me know you're here. So, all right. So we are talking about situations, right? In this case, this is most relevant to trading, and situations tend to produce, we think, emotions, right? So as traders, certain emotions come from trading. So we might say, when my stop gets hit, I feel angry, or I feel happy when I take profit. And we tend to think that the situation is what produces the emotion. But in fact, we're going to talk about today that is not the case. Situations do not produce emotions. It's how we think about a situation that results in an emotion. So for example, if you're trading and your stop gets hit, the thought behind that stop loss for you is going to impact your emotion, right? So if you have certain thoughts, you might feel, like we said, angry. You might feel disgust, okay? You might feel sadness. These are the emotions that might come up for you, but it isn't because of the situation. It's because how you're perceiving the situation. For example, if instead of becoming angry or sad or disgusted about your stop getting hit, if you think about your stop instead as an insurance policy or a protection for your account to keep your account safe, of course, the way you will think about your stop getting hit will be different, right? Because the interpretation of what that situation means impacts your emotions. So, for example, if you were to think about what being stopped out means to you, you might think, oh, I failed. I'm a loser. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm never going to pass this challenge, right? How you think about that event occurring is what's going to produce the emotions, not the event itself. Because other people might also get stopped out and they may have very little emotion, or I would say no emotion, but I don't think that's true, but very little emotion, okay? Very little impact on them. So in between the situation and the emotion, there are thoughts that take place. And we tend to skip this middle piece. We tend to think that the situation is what causes the emotions, but in reality, the thoughts come between the situation and the emotion. So it goes situation, the thoughts that we have, and then the emotions. Okay, so how we think about a situation and how we interpret that situation is what causes the emotion. So, for example, a fear or stress response, okay, that can be caused by thinking that getting your stop loss hit is a perceived threat. All right. And this is related to automatic negative thoughts that we have when we are trading, or anytime we are bombarded by automatic thoughts that come and go. We may not even be aware of them because they happen so fast. But automatic negative thoughts are involuntary, habitual thoughts that focus on negatives, exaggerate problems, or predict disaster. Okay. So if you've ever been in a situation where something has occurred and your mind has automatically, immediately gone to the catastrophic level, right? I can give you an example. Let's say you plan to have a conversation with someone you were interested in, and the conversation was scheduled for a certain time, and that person did not call you when they said they would, right? You may be bombarded by automatic negative thoughts. Oh, this person isn't interested in me. They don't want to talk to me, right? They're never going to want to go out with me again. Okay. These are automatic negative thoughts that are involuntary, habitual, and they focus on the negatives, exaggerate or amplify the problem, and predict disaster. Same with trading, right? We can apply this to trading as well. Typically, it's around a stop loss getting hit. You may have any kind of involuntary habitual thought that focuses on the negative. So instead of thinking of the stop loss as something to protect you, protect your account, we tend to think of it as a negative outcome. And like I said, it might not just be that it's unpleasant to have your stop loss hit. Having your stop loss hit could actually escalate into thinking it means something about you, right? As a trader, you're not successful. You're not going to be successful. You don't know what you're doing. If you did know what you were doing, your stop loss would have gotten hit. I will never succeed as a trader, right? These are all examples of automatic negative thoughts. And not only can they lead to missed opportunities. For example, if you're feeling very negative about trading because your stop is getting hit, you may decide you don't want to trade. You might have fear. We talked last week about loss aversion. So you may experience fear and sit out of a trade because you may be so overwhelmed by fear that you're too afraid to take a trade. Okay. Additionally, it's sort of a cycle, right? So the worse you feel about a situation, your behavior is impacted. You may trade worse. You may use greater risk, take less optimal entries, and then your stop loss will get hit again. And it just amplifies and continues this vicious cycle of negativity. And not only that, but it can evolve into anxiety around trading, and even as much as fear. So escalate to feeling fearful of trading, fearful of the markets. You may feel overwhelmed or hopeless. All right. So we have talked about this before recently. In the last couple of weeks, we've talked about how your brain is impacted by the power pose. So we looked at research that showed that in 2 minutes alone, assuming a power pose can actually change your neurochemistry. So we talked about doing the power pose for 2 minutes has been shown to increase testosterone, so the dominance hormone, and decrease cortisol, the stress hormone. 2 minutes, that's all it takes, okay? And part of that is because we know that the brain demonstrates neural plasticity, okay? So we used to think that, scientists used to think that the brain was fairly static after a certain point, after a certain age. For the most part, the brain was fairly static. But thanks to advancements in neural imaging, scientists have found that the brain is actually demonstrates plasticity, or there's evidence of plasticity. Okay, so I like to think of that as plastic, right? Plastic is very moldable, very changeable. You can recycle it, you can reuse it, you can turn it into something new. Likewise, with the brain, we know that the brain demonstrates plasticity. And so the power pose is an example of how you think, how you act impacts your brain's chemistry, so the chemical components of your brain, but also physical changes can actually occur in the makeup of your brain, in the structure of your brain, just by how you think and how you act. So when someone has, for example, depression, there are actually certain areas of the brain that have been shown to shrink, to actually physically shrink as a result of the depression, okay? And there's different things that we can do and focus on in order to change our actual brain, both chemically and physically, okay? So some ways to take care of your brain and be mindful of the brain and body connection that we think of often. We know that how you eat, obviously, has an impact on your brain. I think this one's actually maybe a little bit less obvious, but one that's more obvious is sleeping, right? How well you sleep, the amount of sleep that you get has an impact on your brain. To me, this one's more obvious than eating, because I personally experience this, right? When I don't have enough sleep, not only is my brain foggy, but I actually feel more emotional. I feel less equipped to handle the stressors in life. This can relate to trading. This can just relate to everyday being, right? I tend to have worse automatic negative thoughts, and my brain seems to rush to those areas faster when I'm sleep deprived. So I think in a more catastrophic way. So maybe eating is more obvious to you, but I'm sure most of us know what an impact sleep can have. Movement is another one that for me is super obvious, because I know that when I move my body, when I get exercise, I experience the world in a different way. Okay. So I know that my mood is improved, even just from like a basic walk with my dogs. I feel a difference in my mind, in my brain. Lifting weights, practicing yoga, taking part in some kind of sport where you're physically active. We hear about this all the time, right? We know that it changes the neurochemistry of your brain, and that is very easy to implement in your own life and see what a difference it makes. Another way to change your brain is by relaxation. So I think this is kind of a hot topic lately, but again, yoga, practicing meditation, mindfulness, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe prayer is more something that you use. Well, maybe not use is not the way you think about it, but even in prayer, it can have a positive impact on your body. Also your spirituality, but just talking about your body, there can actually be a chemical and structural difference in how you how you act, right? And how you relax and take time for yourself. But additionally, how you think is another element of the mind and body connection. So we talked about in the last couple of weeks, how you think has an impact on how you behave, and how you behave, again, can change the biochemistry of your brain. And even now we're talking about changing the structure of your brain. So we know that the things that we do have a significant impact on our brain, both in a chemical sense, but even in a structural sense. Every day, our minds are flooded with constant stream of thoughts. The average person has approximately 60,000 thoughts per day. 60,000 thoughts per day. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine what that would look like if you were able to write out all the thoughts that a person had in a day, regardless of what they were. That number is absolutely astonishing. 60,000 thoughts per day on average. This is demonstrated in the research. And that is really, really fascinating because we know that obviously most of those thoughts must be automatic thoughts. We don't have, if you were to guess how many thoughts you had in a day, you probably would not have come anywhere near that number because there's the conscious thoughts, right? The things that we're aware that we're thinking of, and then just the automatic things that come up for us. So these thoughts might range from mundane, everyday type things that we think about. We have to get the kids to school on time, what to eat for lunch, what shoes do I want to wear, those type of things, to deeper contemplations about trading, perhaps about life, the world around us, even higher thoughts such as, like, for example, what it means to be here, why am I here, what's my purpose in life, spiritual questions, right? All of those are part of the 60,000 thoughts that we have each day on average. Assumptions are a part of the many, many thoughts that we experience in a day. We make certain assumptions about what something means, right? This includes anxieties or, fears that we have, whether it's related to trading or related to life. And again, those negative thoughts are all a part of the 60,000 thoughts that we have every day on average. All right. So anxieties and fear arise both, again, I'm thinking about these things specifically related to trading, but these anxieties and fears, this is also relevant to regular everyday life outside of trading as well. Our brain has a tendency in our assumptions, anxieties, and automatic negative thoughts to perceive the world as a dangerous place. So when you hear someone talking about their stop getting hit, right, usually people talk about it as in a way that reflects that they perceive a stop as sort of a dangerous or unpleasant, fear-inducing type scenario, right? Most people don't automatically think of a stop loss as a protection, right? Oh, thank goodness my stop protected me. That's not typically the thought that you usually hear people gravitate toward, right? And so this is related to fears and anxieties that arise from perceiving the world as a dangerous place because we are so impacted by the automatic negative thoughts, okay? So on this next slide, this is related to kids, the stress response in kids. So if you've heard about the anxiety cycle, right? There's the fight and flight response. Most people have heard about that. And another possible response is freeze. And so I found this and I just love it because even though this is designed to talk about the stress response in kids, it actually pertains perfectly to traders as well, okay? So examples of the stress response in traders, fight, flight, or freeze. Fight might be yelling or screaming, using mean words. That's something that we talk a lot about on this channel. A lot of times traders will say that's how they're feeling. So there's the fear response, but also anger can come up. Hitting, kicking, biting, throwing, punching. Sometimes traders will come on here and kind of joke about throwing their keyboard or flipping over their desk or something like that. Blaming, deflecting responsibility, defensiveness, okay? You can imagine how that might also apply to trading. It was the market maker out to get me. They're hunting my stops, right? Demanding, controlling, oppositional, defiant, non-compliant, right? These are all very like angry approaches to the market. moving towards what feels threatening, right? I think that is related to when we go on tilt, or a lot of times people will call it revenge trading. Okay. This is part of our fight response as traders, how we respond to the market in an aggressive type of way. Irritability, angry, furious, offended, aggressive. So, have any of you ever felt offended by the market? I know that sometimes I feel an emotional response related to the market, and it's, it can be along the lines of offense, right? We feel like we were done wrong by the market. All right. Examples of flight. Again, this PDF is related to kids, but it's exactly the same for traders. So flight responses: wanting to escape, run away, unfocused, hard to pay attention. I think the wanting to escape, running away, sometimes we avoid trading, right? I know for myself, this was quite a while ago, but I still remember it was 2018. And I had been trading really, really well. Things had been going well for me for a very long time. And I experienced an event in the market that honestly traumatized is the word that comes to mind. It's so funny because it was not that big of a deal. But in that moment, for me, it felt traumatic. And my response was flight. I stopped trading for a significant period of time because I felt like, even if I say what happened, it's not going to make a lot of sense. It was basically, I didn't take out as much from the market as I thought I should have. So it wasn't even a loss related scenario. It was simply trades that were in profit moved against me. And it was traumatic because I felt like at the time I had totally done something wrong. And so my response in that moment was simply flight. I'm done. I'm out. I'm taking a break. Right. And so I stopped trading for several months because I felt so agitated by what had happened. I've also had the fight experience too. So I'm not trying to say that doesn't happen to me. I think it happens to all of us as traders, right? But that experience was really, really impactful for me. And I still remember 2018 trading stocks. And I moved away from the market for a while. Fidgeting, restlessness, hyperactive, right? That's another one. Pushing buttons. Literally pushing buttons on our computer, making trades, preoccupied, busy with everything but the thing. So the one thing we're supposed to be doing, sometimes you see this like, oh, I'm a trader, but I'm just too busy right now to do it. I'm too busy to put in the work that I need to do. So procrastinating, avoidant, ignores the situation. Okay. This can be true when you have a position moving against you, and maybe you have a stop, maybe you don't. But it becomes clear that you should close that trade, right? It's not working. And instead of making that choice, making that decision, we ignore that it's there. There's a trader that I have watched, and he's an excellent trader. And he live streams, and I saw this play out in him over the live, where he had every the trade was going against him dramatically, terribly. He was warned that he needed to close the trade, and he just didn't do it. And other than, you might say, well, that sounds like the freeze response, but mentally, when I heard him talk, it sounded like a flight response, because for him, it was everything but the reality. So he had all these other reasons and rationales, and it was clear that what he was actually doing was just absolutely avoiding the reality of what he knew to be a trade that needed to be closed. He just mentally was completely avoiding the situation. moving away from what feels threatening, anxious, panicked, scared, worried, overwhelmed, right? As traders, I suspect we've all been there. If you've been trading for a while, I doubt there's any of us that can't say we've experienced both the fight and the flight response with regard to trading. And then the freeze response, okay? Shutting down, mind goes blank, urge to hide, isolate self. Verbally unresponsive says, I don't know a lot, right? Difficulty with completing tasks, zoned out, daydreaming, unable to move, feeling stuck, depressed, numb, bored, apathetic, helpless. I shared a while ago, I was in a trade, and it was a very it was a great trade. It got to a multiple of 7R, which for me, I don't typically target 7R. I typically target a 1 to 2 or a 1 to 3, and then maybe hold on to part of the position for a further target. So you can imagine that 7R was a huge anomaly for me. That's not what I'm typically about at all. And when the trade, this was in Forex, when the trade hit 7R, I absolutely froze. I did nothing. Literally, I really can't even explain what happened. It hit 7R. I did nothing. And it wasn't flight, because I was there watching price come back all the way to my break even, all the way to my full stop out. And I did nothing. I didn't move my stop to break even. I did nothing except sit and watch it all happen. And it was in one morning. And it happened it might have been the afternoon, but in one day, it was just in the New York session, and I watched it come all the way back from 7R to my full stop out. Okay, that's a example, a very painful but real example of freeze. All right. Okay, so I know that you all are here. Everybody's quiet this morning. I would love to hear from you. If you want to pop into the chat, say hello, let me know where you're watching from, and which of these 3 is most prevalent for you in trading. Do you tend to be a fighter? Do you tend to be more in the flight category when it comes to trading? Or do you experience more the freeze response? Let me know in the chat. Since you all are so quiet this morning, let me know which of these columns most applies to you in your trading and your stress response. I suspect we've all experienced all 3. Which one impacts you the most? And perhaps maybe you'd also like to say where in these 3 categories you find yourself residing most as a trader. So you can see at the top of the column, let me see if I can move my mouse here. At the top of the column here, you can see that these are the less intense levels, okay? So the yelling, screaming, using mean words is less intense, and it progresses as we move down the column. So irritable, angry, furious, offended, aggressive. That's a more extreme manifestation of the fight response. No takers? Nobody wants to comment? It's okay. It's Monday. I understand everybody's quiet and shy, recovering from the weekend. And that's true in the flight category, in the freeze category as well. As we move from the top of the column toward the bottom of the column, the examples or the characteristics become more extreme. Okay. So next here, we're looking at the anxiety cycle. So we talked about the anxiety cycle quite a few times here. And if you remember, The stimulus is the triggering event, okay? So for example, for traders, the one that is most common that we talk about is getting your stop hit, right? For most people, that is an example of a scenario that creates a lot of anxiety, fear, emotional reactivity, okay? So there's the stimulus, and then you can see the interpretation to the FFF response. That's the fight, flight, or freeze response, okay? So typically, we think of the stimulus as being the cause of the fear response or the emotional response, but it isn't the stimulus that actually causes the fear response, is it? There's something in between, which is the interpretation. So it isn't the stimulus, it isn't the stop getting hit that causes the fear response. It's our interpretation of that scenario playing out. Okay, so in between the stimulus and the FFF response, fight, flight, or freeze response, is the interpretation. Okay, do we interpret that situation or that scenario as dangerous or not? Okay, if you experience your stop loss being hit as a dangerous or perceived threat, a dangerous situation or a perceived threat to you, your fight, flight, freeze response would be different than someone, for example, ICT talks about his stop loss. He perceives it as an insurance policy, okay? An insurance policy meant to protect the account. So does that sound like something that would elicit fear or that he would perceive as a dangerous situation? I don't hear any fear in that, right? It's a very logical way to think about a stop loss, okay? So you can imagine that if ICT has a stop hit, he does not interpret it as a dangerous or threatening incident, that his FFF response, fight, flight, or freeze response, is different than someone who interprets it as a dangerous or threatening experience, okay? So most likely, ICT would move to the right of that, that chart that we're looking at here, that he would face the stop loss getting hit, parasympathetic response, shake, laugh, breathe, tell the story, connect, and safety, okay? In other words, he takes a stop and he moves on with his life, okay? And that should be our goal, right? Because if we see a stop loss being hit as a threat, take a look at that cycle. So we have our stop loss being hit. We see it as threatening or dangerous, okay? Our fight, flight, freeze response is going to cause us to avoid, right? So there's two ways I can think of that come to mind. We may totally avoid trading altogether, right? In other words, like I shared in 2018, I just stopped trading for a while, okay? So avoiding it. Or moving your stop is an example of avoidance, right? If you move your stop, you are avoiding experiencing the stop out scenario, okay? So even though price is approaching where you had your stop, moving it is a way of avoiding, okay? Can you think of any other fight, flight, or freeze responses that would be avoiding, okay? So failing to take the stop, taking the stop and leaving altogether, so no longer trading. Another example would be not taking a trade, right? You are so afraid and so fearful. A lot of traders have shared that they're so afraid of the market that they are too afraid to take a trade. This would be an example of avoiding it sort of on the front end, okay? So what happens when we avoid it, either through the fight, flight, or freeze response? We feel relief, right? When you're trading and you move your stop lower, because you don't want to actually be stopped out, right? You move it lower and you feel relief. Okay, didn't get hit. I'm safe. I'm clear, right? But what happens is it's temporary, isn't it? Because when I move my stop, I feel relief. And again, one of two outcomes take place. Either the stop moved down further, eventually gets hit, and more damage to my account happens than I planned, or maybe even worse, my stop doesn't get hit, and then that behavior of moving the stop is reinforced. So you think, oh, whew, good thing I moved the stop, right? So in that scenario, it's reinforced. And then we return back to the stimulus. So the next time we take a trade, will we be stuck in that anxiety cycle? Or if we change our thinking, our interpretation, we may be able to move over to the right side of the chart. Okay. This is Viktor Frankl, if anyone is familiar. And he is an Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. His family was all killed during the Holocaust, and he survived and went on to think about and study and search for life's meaning for himself. And also he wrote a lot about humans and their seeking of meaning. And this is a quote from him. I when I was looking online, it actually was attributed potentially to two people, but he said, between stimulus and response lies a space, right? Just like we talked about. Between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space lie our freedom and power to choose a response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. In another quote I found online, it was interpreted happiness. Okay, that may be because this quote was not in English. So it's an interpretation or translation difference. But think about what he's saying here. Between stimulus and response lies a space. And in that space lies our freedom and power to choose a response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom, our happiness. Okay? In life, this is huge. In trading, this is huge. It is very relevant to what we're doing as traders. We have the opportunity to change our performance, to change our experience as traders, as humans, based on what we choose in that space between stimulus and response. Okay? So if we are struggling with behaviors related to consistency or discipline or emotions related to anger or fear, maybe even sadness, even disgust with ourselves about our trading performance, any of those emotions, right? We have the opportunity to change, right? We have the power to choose, freedom and power to choose what that middle part is. So what our thoughts are going to be. That's a very powerful way to alter your performance as a trader and also your performance and effectiveness as a human being, right? It's really powerful if you think about that. I mean, I feel like for myself personally, not only am I really finding the power of that insight to change my trading, but that's spilling over into my life as well. And I'm really struck by how true that is. It feels like for me, trading has been like a really great way to exercise this in a definite amount of time in the day. I trade the New York session. So, of course, there's a beginning and there's an end to that session. And so practicing intentionally choosing my response during that time, I feel like it's beginning to trickle more and more into my regular life as well. So doing this as a trader, recognizing your power to choose will undoubtedly impact your performance. Okay, it will be beneficial to your performance as a trader, even though it does not fall in the category of the things that we think we need in order to be a successful trader. Okay, if you look at how people focus their trading activities, almost all of us are guilty of putting all our time and energy in our strategy. I like to call that our method, right? Our edge. That's where we put our time and energy. Maybe we put a little time and energy in the risk management. But if those areas are not producing consistent profitability, it makes sense to stop with those for a while and really focus on your mindset, okay? Because I'll share for myself personally, when I started to focus on mindset, okay, my response, or sorry, my power to choose, right, between the stimulus and the response. When I started focusing on that, my trading improved. My method did not change. My risk management changed minimally. I had sort of improved that a little bit, but the method had not changed. But my outcome, my performance changed dramatically by focusing on mindset or my psychology, what it was that I was mentally doing during the trading session. Don't you think that's interesting? I think that's so fascinating that you have the power. You don't need a secret strategy or a secret signal service or anything like that. The power for you to change your performance, as long as you do have to have a method and risk management as well. That's true. But even if you have those things, and it's possible that you do, you could jeopardize your performance by not giving the attention that your mindset needs in order to execute these things correctly. So if you listen to ICT talk or any, I have a slew of traders that I've read, and I've always been impressed by the difference in their thought process versus the way I thought, which I wasn't always even really aware of what that was. But I'll give you an example. When I've watched traders live stream, or I've read books of traders who've been very successful, and their almost ambivalence toward being stopped out or taking a loss was so striking to me. And I felt like I wasn't sure how to get there, right? How do I get to an ambivalence toward taking a stop, right? And the reality is none of us likes getting our stop loss hit. We don't. It's terrible. It's no fun at all. But if you can change your thinking, at least from, this is not a threat to me, this is not dangerous, right? This does not have any huge meaning about who I am as a trader. Get rid of those things and just, it's fine if you dislike getting your stop loss hit, but it's even better if you can just be ambivalent about it. I can't always do that. I cannot always be completely neutral about my stop loss getting hit. Sometimes I can, but sometimes I don't know if it's the external things that are going on in my life, but I had shared that 2 weeks ago, I took a string of losses, and I really wasn't all that impacted by it. I didn't like it, but it really didn't bother me too much. It was 4 losses in a row, so 2 red days in a row. And I just kind of felt like this is just trading. This is just part of it. The next week came back, had a bunch of, had some really nice success. And then my next string of losses came again, 4 losses in a row, 2 red days in a row. And I really could not get to that same place where I was sort of unaffected. It really bothered me more than usual. And I had to, walk away from my desk, take a walk, and make an intentional effort to get my mind right. More so than other times, because it really impacted me that day. Again, I don't know why. I have some suspicions about why it was more impactful. I had a little bit more uncertainty about the market in general. So I was feeling maybe a little less like confidence in the market in general. But regardless, sometimes it's harder for us than other times. But the point is, you have the power to choose what your thought is going to be. And even if you cannot in the moment, right? That second example, I could not in the moment as much as I normally did. I was not finding success in choosing to believe that, taking a loss is just part of trading. And so I took the afternoon and I worked on it myself. And I didn't do anything magical. I didn't meditate for 3 hours. I simply took my dogs on a walk for an hour, which I do every day, and really put some mental effort into reminding myself what a stop loss is for, what it's meant to be, what I believe it's meant to be. Okay. And I was able to come back the next day sort of healed from that experience, right? The power that we have, the freedom to choose and the power to choose is in our minds. That is what trading psychology is, right? The ability to change your thoughts in order to have an impact on your emotions and have an impact on your behavior. That's what trading psychology actually is. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. Everybody is still being super quiet, and that's fine. Maybe nobody wants to hop on. I'm just going to share one more chart with you. And I have underlined the freedom and power to choose. That to me is so interesting and so exciting and so absolutely spot on. Between the stimulus and the response is our freedom and power to choose. And not only that, but as a result of our freedom and power to choose, what we choose, right, is where our growth and our freedom or our happiness lie. So if you want to find growth and freedom and happiness as a trader, I encourage you to really think about this. The power is in your hands, right? Is in our hands, in my hands, right? I have the power to choose how I show up to the market. And if the day that happened to me where I was really struggling with recognizing a stop loss, having my stop hit, taking a loss as an insurance policy, like ICT said, or a way to protect my account, that day, I had to make a conscious effort to remember what the purpose was and what my true beliefs are about a stop and why use a stop. If I didn't think a stop in the long run was beneficial, I wouldn't use one, right? So I know intellectually that a stop is purposeful and is meant to protect my account, but we don't always feel that way. But really, the growth and the freedom and the happiness is in our ability to change our thoughts and control our thoughts, right? It's very hard to will away a behavior, right? It's very hard to feel angry or sad or disgust or fear and just will it away, right? Just say, I just don't want to have that anymore, right? But if you can utilize your thoughts and look for the thoughts that serve you, right, you can change that outcome for yourself. So that's what, when I went on the walk with my dogs that day, that's what I was looking at. Like, I'm feeling really flustered about taking these losses. I'm feeling upset about it. I'm thinking whatever I'm thinking. And the question that I kept asking myself is this serving me? Are these thoughts helpful to me? And if they're not, let's replace them. Okay. If I'm feeling like uncertainty, what is a thought that I can replace to align with what I actually think about the market and what I actually want to believe, right? So even if a thought is not coming natural for me, I can think about, well, what do I want to tell myself? What do I want to believe that will be constructive? So these aren't lies that I'm telling myself. These are truths. But just because something is true doesn't always mean that we're willing to accept it, right? So I'll give you an example. If you someday are just like not feeling good about yourself, you're feeling like, I don't know, maybe you're feeling like you're not competent some way or you're not able. And the question is that serving you to think about that? Okay. Oh man, I suck at, whatever it is. Is that serving you? Probably not. It might be true. You might not be a very good golfer or something like that. Whatever it is that you are evaluating yourself on. But a more constructive thought might be, I've made a lot of improvements since the last time, right? Or I'm I'm doing better than I did a year ago, or I'm doing my best. Those are all truths. It's not the same. It's not saying that they're lies, but they are a truth that just doesn't feel as like at the forefront, right? So again, to the example that I shared about myself taking losses the one week and feeling fine with it, and taking losses the next week and not feeling fine with it. When I was telling myself all professional traders take losses, taking losses is part of the game. If you want to be a professional trader, you have to be okay with taking losses. Those things were all true both weeks. It was just one week I really believed it and felt comfortable with it. And another week I was having a harder time with it. So again, it's not that we're lying to ourselves. We're just thinking about, does it serve me to think the way that I'm thinking? And really keeping an eye on the automatic negative thoughts, because in the instant your stop gets hit, and in fact, even prior to getting hit, you're already experiencing automatic thoughts, right? Generally, our automatic thoughts tend to lean toward the negative, right? So we don't tend to come into a situation automatically. Some people do, and some scenarios, sometimes something happens and we feel great about ourselves. But when it's something like a stop loss getting hit, most of us don't gravitate toward, oh, good, my account's protected, right? That's not typically our automatic response. And so we can fight to change that, though. We can be aware of those automatic thoughts, and we can change them, swap them out with something else. So we will talk more about that in the future, how you can change them out and swap them out. But I will share for myself, if you've watched me live trade recently, a lot of times I'll put up on the screen when a trade is going against me, what my automatic thoughts are. Sorry, not my automatic thoughts, my intentional thoughts, right? What I'm intentionally telling myself, things that I do actually believe, but I don't always feel, right? And so I need to remind myself. And there are three. They have to do with my method, my management, meaning my risk management, and my mindset, okay? You can think of it as like a mantra. It's just basically things that I actually believe that sometimes I need a reminder for, okay? So the first one, again, has to do with my method, right? This is a valid trade, okay? It fits my trading plan. It fits the model I'm trading. This is a valid trade. That's my method. Truth, okay? Second is management. So risk management. the truth there is I risked appropriately for the size of my account or for my personal risk tolerance. Okay. So this is a valid trade, fits my trading plan. I risked appropriately. Okay. And the third has to do with my mindset. Okay. Every trader, every professional trader takes losses. Taking losses is just part of the game. If I want to be a professional trader, I have to be comfortable with taking losses. So we have method, management, and mindset. And those are the three truths that as I'm taking losses, I'm reminding myself. And if you were here the last couple of weeks, we've also talked about psychology is your emotions. A lot of times you'll hear people talk about psychology and they'll be talking, usually they talk about something behavior, but behavior is not psychology. Emotions and thinking, okay? And your emotions or your feelings and your thoughts are what make up your psyche, your psychology, your personal psychology. And so related to trading, all it has to do with the thoughts and emotions that relate to trading, okay? It is very difficult to will away an emotion. So if somebody cuts you off and you're angry and I'm in the car with you and I say, oh, just, let it go. Don't be angry, right? I don't know about you, but that doesn't really work very well for me. If somebody just says, oh, relax, calm down, it's not a big deal, okay? I feel angry, right? On the other hand, if I change my thinking, it might change things for me. So for example, if I'm driving in the car, somebody cuts me off and maybe my husband or my kid or something says, oh, you know what, that looked like a mom in there and she looked pretty stressed. I wonder if she has like a screaming baby or like an angry toddler in the back seat. Okay, that's going to calm me down a little bit, right? Because I'm going to think, oh yeah, I remember, that's really stressful, right? Versus if I'm thinking, oh, what a jerk, he's probably just trying to get somewhere on time or something like that. He must think his time is more important than mine, right? Those are thoughts that are gonna keep the anger in place. If you're thinking about something else, a different possible explanation, you have no idea if either one of those is true. But the point is, it's the thought, how you interpret that situation, that's going to lead to changing the emotion. And the reason that's important is changing the emotion and changing the thoughts has an impact on our behavior. So if we're trying to be more disciplined and we're trying to be more consistent as traders, the thoughts that we have are the most malleable and accessible for making a change. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Changing the emotion, if you can do that, that's great too. But for most of us, we can't just will away our emotions, but we can change pretty easily how we think. Even if your natural automatic thinking is a negative, automatic negative thought, you can go back and either preemptively, right? We talk about the trading warm up. If you haven't seen that video on my channel, the pre-trade routine or the trading warm up is a way to preemptively combat those automatic negative thoughts. But you can also do it after the fact. So again, back to the example I shared, when I was struggling with the multiple days of losses, I had done the pre-trade routine or the trading warm-up, mindset warm-up, but that wasn't enough that day. That day, I also had to go after the fact and work on my mindset so that I was could come back the next day and be comfortable trading and potentially taking another loss. All right, one last slide here. Again, this is just the anxiety cycle. Fear, stimulus, misinterpretation of a threat, right? If you perceive your stop loss as a threat, it's going to perpetuate anxiety, safety-seeking behavior, absence of corrective experience, reinforced pattern, and continue on, okay? The way to stop this cycle is to change number 2 here, okay? Misinterpretation of a threat. So changing our thinking, our fight, flight, or fear response our interpretation of the danger in order to impact the fight, flight, freeze response, not fear response, sorry, fight, flight, freeze response, okay? So focusing on the interpretation of a stimulus is where is the key to changing our performance as a trader, because we know that the thinking impacts our behavior. That's what this whole anxiety cycle is about. The way we think about or interpret a stimulus is what ultimately impacts our behavior. And so if consistency and discipline are your goal, right? Maybe you want to think about what is preventing you from getting there. What are the thoughts that you could change, maybe replacing them with something more beneficial for you, something that serves you better. Okay, so that's it. That's all I have for that. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Anybody want to check in, say hello? I'm gonna mute myself for a second and take a drink here, but let me know in the chat box, in the comment section, if you have any comments or questions or anything that is new to you that we talked about today, anything that struck you, anything that you see that you think, oh, I think I'd like to work on that. Share with me in the comments. Let me know, or just say hello. I'll be right back. Okay. This is the quietest, whoops, I don't want to make myself that big. This is the quietest y'all have been. All right, no comments, questions. No one wants to say hello this morning? All right, well, in that case, let's move on. This is the quietest y'all have ever been. That's okay, I get it. It's Monday. All right, so we're going to take a look here. First, let's start at the Forex Factory. So if you're not familiar with Forex Factory, I love using this as my calendar for upcoming events. I know you can do it on TradingView as well, but I just find this to be, oops, this is less. No, this is correct. Okay, so looking at the events for this week, today there is no high impact news. There was a 10 a.m. orange folder news event. Coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. there's a red folder event, consumer confidence. Nothing on Wednesday during the New York AM or PM session. Thursday, 8:30 GDP unemployment. So might see some extra volatility this day. And then 10 a.m., so this is a double news event day. 10 a.m. is pending home sales and revised sentiment, consumer sentiment, and PCE on Friday. Okay, 8:30 is PCE. So those are the news events coming up for the week. Let's take a look at the chart. So I like to take a look starting with the market sessions. Actually, let's start with the daily. Okay, so the daily, can see we had been inside this little range. We're still inside the range here. Price had popped above, creating an all-time high. And then last week, again, popped above, took out a little bit of liquidity here. And let's see, this is the S&P here. So you can see the S&P has been very strong for a long time, moving up higher, and is still is now above this. It was kind of a similar consolidation, but price broke out of that area last week. So below all-time highs, moved lower today. There's a fair value gap on the S&P and the NASDAQ on the daily chart. So you can see price on the NASDAQ is moving inside this fair value gap and also in the S&P as well. On the 4-hour time frame, price is moving back. We reached on Monday 6 a.m. So the 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. candle just barely tapped the 4-hour midline of this fair value gap here. Let's see if that's also the case in the S&P. It doesn't look like the S&P quite reached down there. It was very close, but not quite. Just about. Okay. So if you're familiar how I trade, I'm looking for market structure breaks, strong breaks in market structure shift, and also trade the 2022 model and Judas swings. So I used a Judas swing to, one, to take trades, and then also to sort of frame price action for the day. So those are the three, my own model, ICT's 2022 model, and the Judas swing. So on the 4-hour, price has more room to move to the downside if it were to get into this zone. That doesn't mean it will, but that's a possibility. In the hourly time frame, here is the zone down here. So still moving down, but we're starting to see price move to the upside here a bit. So on the 15-minute time frame, there's still no market structure shift yet, although you can see prices move really strongly higher on the 15-minute time frame. Oops. 5-minute time frame, we do have a market structure shift. Now, I've talked about this a lot before. Let's get rid of the market sessions for now. I use a couple, I like to think of them as like helpers on my chart. They're under the indicators tab here. They're really not indicators. I think of them as like price action clarifiers. And automatic trading view indicators are excellent, or these ones are, not all of them, but these ones are, with the exception of certain points when it is helpful for my eye to override what the indicator is saying. So what I mean by that is if you look at this point here, if I take these indicators off, this looks, wait, let me see here. Yeah. So what is happening here is price moved down, moved higher, created a low, and then moved higher again, okay? This indicator in particular is seeing this candle. It's a little hard to show you, but see this long green candle here? Showing that as a swing low. If I take that off, you can see that if anything, this would be the swing low, but that is not a swing low, okay? So mentally, I am overriding this market structure break here. That is not a valid market structure break to me. It's not very different, but this is where the market structure break actually occurs, okay? And you can see that actually makes a lot more sense. Oops, that's not the one. Again, if you don't know what a market structure break or a market structure shift is, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to explain it. But you can see here just visually without any lines drawn on it that where the break actually happens is right here. Okay, it's not over here. There is a fair value gap, but that's not, we're looking for a big break. Okay, so these indicators are great. But again, as with any type of technology, you know, if you've ever had Alexa or Siri help you out in life, sometimes they don't get it right. Okay, so you can rely on your eye as, sometimes a better system. And I would say that's what is appropriate here. So here is the zone. I'm going to put my so this zone was created by this strong break-in structure. And what that means is if price moves back into this area, this would be an area that would be potential to get long there. Okay. Likewise, another thing about these indicators is they do lag a little bit. Again, they're not actually indicators, but price action clarifiers. But I know that at this point is where the market structure break will eventually show up. And the reason I know that is because if I take the Fibonacci and I draw from where price broke higher, measuring it down to the extreme, if it hits this level here, the 272 projection, that will be a confirmed market structure break. So this is a new market structure break, and that creates, again, this zone here where I would be interested in getting long if price moved into a discount area. Okay, so let's take a look at bias real quick. We didn't talk about that yet. So my bias mainly comes from the 4-hour and the hourly time frame, but I do like to also look at the daily. And so you can see most recently price has created this bullish fair value gap, and price has stayed above that level. Okay, so here is the daily fair value gap. And price has now tested that area, but so far has stayed above it. Same on the S&P, a new fair value gap. Price has tested, but stayed above. So this is a bullish scenario on the daily time frame. Okay, dropping down to the 4-hour. The most recent fair value gap that price has tested, well, there's this bearish fair value gap here. Bearish fair value gap here, and a bullish fair value gap. So price has tested this area and moved higher. And on this candle so far, it's engaging with both fair value gaps at this point. So this is a little bit neutral for me. It's starting to look like price is turning a bit, but at least on the 4-hour time frame, there's both a bearish and bullish fair value gap that price is engaging with. And so we're kind of just in, kind of neutral on the 4-hour. Same on the S&P. So a bearish fair value gap here, currently inside a very large bullish fair value gap, a bit neutral on the 4-hour. Moving down to the hourly. Okay, actually this looks a lot more interesting. Okay, so this is a bullish fair value gap all the way back here. Price tested and moved higher from there. Also engaging with these three actually bearish fair value gaps. And there's about 20 minutes to close of this candle. Oops. Okay, so I apologize. I thought this was really strange that there were not a single comment all morning, and the comments are full of comments. I'm so sorry. On my streaming platform, it shows not a single comment, which I thought seemed very, very weird and very lonely. So thank you so much. And I am so sorry. So let me see here. B. Collins, good morning. Welcome back. Tradecraft, Russell, Bo, Spin Geography, UPSC. You are new to the channel. I am so sorry to all of you. Here you've been engaging with me all morning, and I don't know why my live stream platform is letting me down this morning. That's terrible. This feels so much better now. I was thinking, oh no, you're here, but you have nothing to say. This must not be good. All right. Marina, welcome. Patrade, welcome. Janardin, welcome. Rizzy Regis, you're brand new commenting. Thank you so much. Russell, yes, clearly I am not able to see the chat. Rizzy, Robert, welcome back. Slim Boy, Mindsight. Okay, Steven, welcome. Meditative Soul, welcome back. I am so sorry. I apologize. I will read through all these comments real quick. And gosh, I should have probably caught on sooner because you all are always so engaged. And I just thought, oh no, maybe nobody wants to talk today. So apologies. I still can't see it on my streaming platform, so I'm going to read on my phone. So excuse me while I'm reading. But B. Collins said, hello, everyone. Doing good. How are you? Tradecraft. Russell says, good morning. Vo, morning. Spin. Geography. Hello from India. Welcome. B. Collins, that is me too. Overwhelmed by fear to take a trade. Yeah, I think we talked about that last week. And if I'm remembering correctly, we had talked about you were interested in maybe trading smaller. And I think that you had said that you did that and it was helpful. So I personally have found that to be helpful for myself as well. And if you remember, that's actually what I did. So that week that I ended up, the first week I was fine. Second week I was struggling more with just like my mental thoughts around losses. And so I just went to trade super duper small. I went from trading minis, like 1 to 3 minis, to just trading micros, like 1 or 2 micros. And it was phenomenal. Now, it didn't have a significant impact on my P&L overall, but more importantly, it really impacted my mind. And as the week went on, I felt like I was trading better and better and better. And in fact, I was. And then by the end of the week, my confidence was back and I felt a lot of clarity. And I think that's one of the best things you can do for yourself, a behavior that, positively impacts your thoughts, right? So by reducing risk, as soon as you're starting to struggle with those, and, to be honest, I don't even do it as soon sometimes. Sometimes it takes me a while to get in my head, you need to cut your risk. And it has a profound impact on behavior. I'm so glad y'all are here. I thought it was just, I thought I had all these people watching me, but nobody wanted to talk. So thank you so much for being here. All right, Russell, very true. It's how you perceive the situation. Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Marina. B. Collins, I love this. Perception isn't always reality, but it is powerful. I agree with you, but I would even say too that your reality is only your perception, right? I know that sounds very whatever, but the only reality we know is what we perceive. And so the truth is our reality is nothing but perception. So that's how someone can experience, go through life and have the same experience with someone. Like I think of my sister. I have a sister. We grew up in the same home. had the same upbringing, and yet our perception might be different of our reality. That can be true in an argument with your spouse too, right? Or a situation with your kids, an argument with your kids or a friend or coworker. Your reality is your perception, and their reality is based on their perception. Paw Trade, welcome. So, okay, B. Collins said, so seeing a stop loss as a protection changes the perception to a good thing and not a negative. Also, seeing it as a learning lesson helps as well. And that's a question. I absolutely think so. Let me read that again. Unfortunately, I can't show any of the comments for you to view so that you can, I don't know why it's not doing that, but B. Collins said, seeing a stop loss as protection changes the perception to a good thing and not a negative. Also, seeing it as a learning lesson helps as well. So I have shared that when I watched the 2022 model, ICT talked about the stop loss as an insurance policy. And for me, that was really, really profound. I think I understood intellectually on some level that, of course, I don't know that I understood. I mean, it makes sense to me that I would have understood a stop as a protection, but I never thought of it that way before. I always thought of it as something to be feared, right? Something that gave me anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety around knowing where to put a stop. I always felt like if I put my stop in the right spot, then it wouldn't get hit. I don't know. Do any of you think like that? If I know what I'm doing, I'll put my stop in the right spot and then it won't get hit. And so anytime my stop did get hit, I felt like, one, I don't know what I'm doing, right? And two, I need to figure out how to do this better, right? I think those are logical outcomes of those thoughts. I don't know what I'm doing, or I need to figure out how to do this better. And that was extremely, extremely, extremely detrimental, because I would review my trades and try to think, okay, where should I put my stop that it wouldn't have got hit, right? Falling into like loss aversion. Because if I'm losing, it means either I don't know what I'm doing or I need to figure out how to do better. And that's why I've said before, I think reflection and analysis of your trading day is important, but don't fall into the trap. If I could like say, if I could depart wisdom, is that the right expression? Impart wisdom? I don't know. If I could go back and tell myself something, it would be, sometimes you do all the things right and you'll still take a loss, right? And so when you're learning how to trade, just because you take a loss doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing or you did something wrong. That's like a huge revelation. That changed things for me. That's why when I trade, when I journal, I do safety of flight, goods, and others, right? Those are the things I'm looking at. That's it. And the reason is because I can take a trade and it can be a good trade and I might still lose money, right? And so it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the stop. That's what makes trading so hard. If you take a test in school and you get an answer wrong, it was because you didn't know the answer, right? Or you didn't, there was something you were missing. And the challenge with trading, what makes it so hard is you may not miss anything. It just isn't your day to win the trade, right? Or to take the profit. It just wasn't your day. And that's why a lot of times people will come into the chat here and they'll say, oh, but your bias is wrong today, or don't take that trade or whatever. And we both might make money and we both might lose money, right? Or one might win, one might lose. That's what is so complex about trading. And so my advice, if I could go back in time and tell myself, right, if you're open to taking advice, it would be get a model that works well enough, right? ICT gives it to you for free, so do that. find money management or risk management that works. Again, ICT does that for free. 2022 model, the 40th or 41st video, he talks about risk management model. And then mindset, right? It's up to mindset, and thinking about your stop as dangerous or threatening to you does not serve. It does not serve you, right? The reason you have a stop is to protect your account. That's it. That's it. Okay. Of course, maybe there's some things you can do to get better about adjusting your stop a certain way. But even if you get super, super good at it, it's totally plausible that you'll still get your stop loss hit 50% of the time. A lot of professional traders, very, very, very successful professional traders. The one I always talk about is JCap Kyle. If you're not familiar, he puts out really good content on YouTube. And he shared that over time, his success rate, his win rate is 50%. That means half the time Kyle's stop gets hit. Okay. I think that's really, really interesting and really helpful to know. As developing traders, we tend to not give ourselves that grace to understand that the people that are doing this super, super successfully are probably not correct as often as we think they are. Yes. B. Collins, yes, I feel the market is out to get me sometimes. Yeah. So that's actually, that's really helpful that you have that insight, because now you can combat that thought, right? You can change that thought. If you're not sure how you're feeling about the market, or you feel more ambivalent, it's harder to replace the thought. But now you know, okay, that's the thought that I need to work on. The market's not out to get me, right? The market doesn't know you. Plus, even if it did, you trade this much, right? We all do. We all trade. Our size is so small. The market's not out to get us. And that doesn't serve us to think that way, right? So now you have a really direct way to change what your thinking is on that. Janardan, welcome. Good morning. I experienced freeze both in profit and loss trades. Yes, that is so true. Actually, that's a really good point, because we tend to think of the anxiety cycle or the fear only when we're losing, right? But the reality is same. I also experience, I told you that time when I went to 7R and I froze, right? That was a fear response when I was winning, right? When I was in profit, and I absolutely froze. So you're right. It can happen in both profit and loss. Please suggest NLP techniques to overcome these stress response. Wow, look at you. Interesting. Okay, we'll come back to the NLP stuff. I'm impressed though. B. Collins, it's freeze for me. Yeah. Rizzy Regis, LOL, good morning. Boston, Massachusetts. Wow, welcome. Thank you so much for commenting. I am so sorry I missed all these comments. That is really such a bummer. Paw trade, all three at the bottom, I guess. Okay. Vo, freeze. Oh, I'm actually really surprised. A lot of people are saying freeze. Russell, are you able to see the chat? I wasn't. Marina, I'm freeze for sure. Interesting. Rizzy Regis, angry, revenge trade, upset with myself. Yeah, I understand. I tend to, I'm making a lot of conscious effort to really work on this, and it has really been profoundly impactful. It's funny that my background's in psychology, but I never really implemented it as part of my trading as like effortfully as I am now, and it really is making a difference. And for me, I'm the same. Anger was anger, and then also confusion and like frustration. Those types of ideas were what got me for the most part too. I think your chat is frozen. Yeah, you're right. Have to drop for a meeting. Okay, B. Collins, hopefully we'll see you next time. Marina, I admit that I fit in the anxiety cycle. Yeah, I think, Marina, the reality is, I think it would be safe to say all of us do, right? Even ICT, I bet there are things that unnerve him from time to time. just like I talked about your method and your management, you can check those boxes. But when it comes to psychology and mindset, the box never gets checked. You're always having to work on it. Robert, we traders definitely need to do some CBT. Yeah, well, that's why you're here, right? Not clinical CBT, but definitely, a form of CBT awareness, right? CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, which we're not doing therapy here, but we are doing, emphasizing the cognitive behavioral theory, which is really, really applicable to traders. Robert, you're right. Marina, usually after I move the stop loss, I enter a freeze mode. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And, in some ways, entering a freeze mode, well, so that's what happened with me, is that my stop loss was in place and then went in profit and I froze when I should have been trailing my stop. So that's not good, but it is not the worst thing if you just leave you put your stop in and you leave it alone. So I've talked about before, sometimes when I trade, I do a fill or kill strategy where I'll put in my stop, put in my take profit, and just, that's it. I don't manage it. I just leave it. And it's either going to get filled for a profit or killed at the stop loss. Yeah. Slim Boy, trade QT on top of ICT. I don't know what QT is. If you're still here, Slim Boy, let me know. Trade QT on top of ICT. Yeah, let me know what that means. Hello, Dr. Cole. How to handle the stress of betting bigger size? Yeah, can start coaching programs for traders soon. I don't see myself doing like an individual coaching program for traders. That's not really where my interest lies per se, but I do love coming and socializing with you all. And I feel like in a lot of ways, this is kind of like a group coaching session. If you want to share, I'm happy to, talk about what you want to talk about. But as far as like one-on-one coaching, I don't see myself doing that. But how to handle the stress of betting bigger size is, that's what we talk about every Mindset Monday, but every live stream we talk about that. And the pre-trade routine, or I like to call it the trading mindset warm-up, that's an excellent way to help yourself cope with bigger size. So it's not always appropriate to trade bigger size, right? Like if it's not appropriate to your account, that would not be a good thing for you, but sometimes it is appropriate for your account. And the warm up, the trading mindset warm up, or the pre-trade routine is what it's called, I think, on my channel under the playlist. Maybe I changed it to trading warm up. Let me see here. Yeah, trading warm up. So if you go on my playlist, it says trading warm up. Actually, let me see if I can change that to trading mindset warm up, because that's what it is. Get your mind right for trading. Look for that playlist, and that can be really helpful. Or I hope it's helpful to understand how you can get your mind ready for trading, and how you can, do things like you said. Where did it go? It is a playlist. I'm not sure. Here it is. Trading mindset warm up. So look for that playlist. And but the pre-trade routine, the trading mindset warm up, is a really great way to get yourself ready to take on more size, and just trade in general. So it doesn't even have to be with size, but just in general can be helpful. Happy Mindset Monday, Rizzy Regis. Russell, oh no, looks like her chat is frozen. Don't think you're seeing our comments. Yeah, so sorry about that. I think she cannot see. No questions. Just want to say hello. Thank you, Mindsight. Someone or moderator, please inform her. Yeah, sorry, that took me a long time to figure out. maybe you can't see the chat. Slim Boy, Thursday, bank run day. Yes, a moderator to support would be a good idea. Turtle Soup, I left a comment on a short video. Maybe she will see it. Thanks. SMT. Steven. Good morning. Slim Boy, it says, when will I trade prop firms? I am a funded trader. I trade through Top Step and also with the 5%ers. Right now, I've switched from Forex to futures, so most of my trades are in Top Step. And in my 5%ers account, I'm mainly just doing indices trading. It's not futures over there, but indices trading, just because I have made a commitment to myself to focus on a limited number of instruments. I like shiny objects, so I tend to like to trade lots of different things, lots of different assets. And so I had made a commitment to really focus my attention for a while, and it's actually going really well. So for me, I'm kind of, not inclined to want to stray from that. But so I am trading prop firm. In fact, I am a huge prop firm fan. I think it's, honestly, I don't know why you would trade your own money if you have access to prop firms. It's such a great way to access, it's not real capital, but it's a great way to trade. And how to handle trailing drawdown stress. Yes, trailing drawdown stress or any kind of stress, I recommend that you look at that playlist for the trading mindset. Isn't this her Top Step account? Yes, we're here. I'm seeing again. Happy Mindset Monday. I'm so sorry. Yes, or trade demo for a while. I did it for about a year. Yeah, trading demo is a great idea. And I personally love going down, for me, to really, really small size, but you can also paper trade on TradingView. So if you have a TradingView account, which I think most people do, even on the free account, you can create paper trading. And so you can forward test a strategy, or, even just, I think forward testing is a little more, it's like a step higher than back testing, because even though it's not real money, there is some emotion in watching the candles. And so it sort of better simulates actual live trading. And so I think that's a great way to do it as well. Slim Boy, I'm also new. My first time. Yeah, thank you for commenting. I'm sorry I'm not on Johnny on the spot with the comments here. Russell, for sure, putting stop in the right spot is hard because sometimes it doesn't follow my risk parameters. Interesting. Okay, Russell, if you're still here, let me know what that means, because it doesn't follow my risk parameters. I'm not sure what you mean on that. And also, Russell, I don't know for sure that I know if you trade futures or what you trade, because, oh, that's okay, Marina. You don't have to delete the comment. All comments are helpful. So speaking of which, if you comment, share, subscribe, like the video, as I'm trying to grow the channel, that is very helpful to me. So thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Russell, let me know what you mean by that. I'm actually really curious to understand what you mean. Sometimes it doesn't follow my risk parameters. For me, what I've done in the past when I'm trading Forex, which you cannot do when you're trading futures as precisely, is I would use EA, an expert advisor, to calculate exactly the position size that I wanted to trade based on where my stop was, and it did it instantly. So you can look back on my channel if you trade Forex, and especially if you trade Forex, it's by earnforex.com. It's a free tool that you can use. You download it onto MetaTrader MT5, and it will calculate your position size for you instantly on, like, let's say you want to risk $1,000. At the price executed based on your stop, it will calculate your exact position size to risk $1,000. That way you can stay completely in line with the risks that you have decided for yourself. So I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, but let me know what exactly you mean. Sometimes I don't know when to stop. Yeah, Mike, welcome. This is your first comment as well. And I agree. Sometimes it's really hard to know where to stop. And everybody has a different method of deciding, but for me, I find it's really helpful to have an approach or a strategy to do that I try to do as consistently as possible. So that's not always the case. Sometimes I'm not willing to stand by that. And then another way I've been doing for the futures market in particular, this is new for me, but in futures, you can only trade round number contracts. So meaning like one contract or two or three, whereas in Forex, you can do like 1.62 lots if you want. So what I'll do in futures is say, okay, I want to risk $500 on this trade. Here's where I want to enter. And you can set up, like I use Tradeabate, but I'm sure most platforms you can do this. I say I want to risk $500 and it'll show me where a stop would be risking $500 and where a take profit would be to get like a R multiple of like 2 or 3. I will adjust my take profit, but most of the time I'm just leaving my stop wherever it shows up, and then I might tighten it. And then I know that, max I'm risking is $500 or whatever number that is. Christo, welcome back, Christo. Good morning. Psychology tops in trading, even though everything must fall in place, but mental is number one. Yeah. I always think about that. Maybe I'll do a poll on YouTube. What is the most important? Is it, the 3 M's of trading is the method, management, meaning your risk management, and your mindset. What's the most important? And I go back and forth on that. I feel like all 3 have to be there. And well, I don't want to give away what my answer is, but I'm curious to know, like, some people really believe that the method is the most important. And surely if you look at the amount of time that we spend, that's the area I think every trader would say that is the area that most time is spent. But is that in line with what your opinion is? So if you think mindset is most important, but you're spending all of your time or most of your time on method, that might not really be in alignment with what you actually think, so you might want to think about that. Slim Boy, Discord. Yeah, I get a lot of questions about Discord. I to be perfectly honest, like I'm not sure. I am not a super I've never really personally found Discord to be very beneficial, but a lot of people have asked about Discord, so I'm still thinking about it. I'm not super clear on what value I would be able to bring there, because here I am Monday through Friday. Like usually I see the chat. Today, my bad, but usually I see the chat, so I feel like you have access to ask questions and make comments and whatever, just like you would in Discord, but it's live. And this is my first fail on the comments, but yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe in the future. Quarterly theory by day. I'll have to look at that. I was looking to progressively bet Larry Williams style for Robbins one day. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, Marina. Thanks for trying to get in touch with me. Rizzy says, definitely prefer forward testing. Yeah, me too. I think I spent like probably a couple of years back testing, and I realized after hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of hours, like it actually wasn't very helpful. It is helpful to do some back testing, like looking back on themes in the market, and then also testing out your ability to execute. But I definitely agree forward testing is more helpful. Steven, how could you deal with over managing trades when in a position? That's a good question. How to deal with overmanaging trades when in a position. So the way that I do it is this. So this is the trading mindset warm up. And I do this every morning that I'm trading. I start trading in the morning. And so, or actually last Monday, I did Mindset Monday in the morning, and then I came back to trade in the afternoon. And so then I did it in the afternoon. And it's just basically this. I have a bunch of videos on my YouTube if you want to check it out if you're not familiar. But doing these things preemptively is a really, really great way to get yourself in a good place to trade. And so if you're doing these things, I find that, for example, if my idea is not to manage a trade, like that might be part of your strategy, but if my idea is not to manage a trade and I'm doing it anyway, it is helpful to go through this trading warm-up so that I can reiterate to myself in the number 2, the trading plan review, what I am going to do, right? That helps me avoid doing things that I don't want to do or don't intend to do. And then the same with the bonus question here. Why are you here and why are you doing what you're doing? So for example, thinking about, okay, if I'm managing a trade or moving a stop, and I'm not saying I do all these things perfectly, right? If you saw me last week, I'll like maybe fudged my stop a little bit, right? It gets the best of everyone. And so why are you here and why are you doing what you're doing? If I'm thinking about that in the 5 to 10 minutes before I come on the live, I'm in a better, although not perfect, place to deal with that. So if I want to manage my trade, then that's fine. That might be part of my strategy. But if I don't want to do it, doing this warm-up can really be helpful in helping me do what I want to do. After method is mindset. Okay, so Slim Boy, you think method comes first and then mindset. $3 monthly 4 group coaching. Well, better than $3 monthly is free. So you can't beat that deal, right? Plus, I honestly just enjoy you all. So I really enjoy just coming here and chatting with you. And again, really sorry about missing the chat. That is my favorite part about coming here and hanging out with you all. It makes trading a lot more fun, especially when you're, trying to be patient. And it just makes it a lot more fun to have you all here. So I appreciate that. And I will certainly be trying to figure out, I will contact tech support for my streaming platform. And it says it doesn't support chat on private videos. I'm just looking, but this video has been, oh, you know what? I wonder if I still have it private in the streaming platform and not on YouTube. Yep, that's why. Okay, problem solved. Let me see if this works. Oh, it won't let me change it now that it's in the past. Okay, well, now I know, and I won't make that mistake again in the future so that I'll be able to see your comments more easily. So thank you for your patience with me. Oops, I keep doing that. Sorry about that. All right. Any other comments or questions? I just want to look at the market a little bit real quick before we wrap it up. And if you do have comments or questions, let me know. I can see it on my phone now. So again, I apologize for that. But I am actually really happy to see what just happened here. This is the NASDAQ, and you can see price dipped way below the swing low and has broken higher. So on the 15-minute, we don't have a market structure shift yet, but there has been one on the 5-minute. So again, in general, I don't think I worked all the way down, but this is starting to look increasingly bullish. And so I would be looking for long trades, in particular if we can get some type of a pullback. So that's good. Slim Boy, I paid thousands to learn these and put into practice. Dr. Cole dropping gems. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, same. I've paid tons and tons and tons for courses and mentorships and all the rest. And I'm pretty thrilled to be in a position where I can come here and share with you what I know and what I've learned. And you all are so great about, I don't know, everyone's been so gracious and lovely, and it's honestly been my pleasure. It's been so much fun. And so, yeah. Oh, thank you, Slim Boy. I appreciate the encouragement. Marina, thank you for the session. I need to rewatch it again. Yeah, thank you, Marina. Thank you for being here. It's kind of a funny, funky way to start a Monday, thinking I'm in a room all by myself with a bunch of viewers and nobody's saying anything. So that's a weird way to start the week. But like I said, now I know, won't make that mistake again. And it's great having you all here. So it looks like it should be a pretty fun trading week. I think it looks like there's a potential here for some things to be setting up. Today, now, at 11:18, I have made, I am working on personally wanting to not trade Monday mornings when there's no high impact news. So today there's no red folder news. And so making a conscious effort, even though, you can get winners on a Monday morning with no high impact news. But I'm working on, really part of our patience, Marina, is really making sure that I'm sort of sitting that out and letting the market unfold. So I'm not saying that's permanent, but that's what I've been doing. And today looks a little bit like last week, where I could see some interesting things setting up in the afternoon. So that doesn't mean a trade will actually come about, but we have this new market structure break on the 5-minute. It looks like a long bias will make sense today. Not currently, right? Because it's 11:20 almost, and but this looks bullish. This looks bullish. Looking forward to see how price reacts to this fair value gap. And this has been bearish through the morning, lots of bearish fair value gaps. And, we have 40 minutes left, so it's possible that this fair value gap will not be here anymore. But this fair value gap, price reacted nicely to it. And this fair value gap has now been inverted, and this one has been inverted. So this is looking very bullish to me. And that would be my direction for the day. Just need a pullback and, want to be inside a time window that makes sense. So thank you for the session. Yes, time to go all in. Go big or go home, Christo. Come on now. You're stirring up trouble. Chat chaos next session. Yay. Well, I would love that. I feel like it was chat chaos for me personally today. Just like, oh no, nobody's talking. That's so unlike these. We have, I know Slim Boy, this is the first time you've been here, but we have a really, really awesome, as you can see, even though unfortunately I wasn't a part of it. The chat is really awesome in our little corner of YouTube, and it's honestly my favorite part of coming here and hanging out with you all. So I'm so sorry I missed it, and I am looking forward to getting to chat with you again. I'm tempted to come back live this afternoon. I guess I'm not sure that I'm fully ready to commit to that yet, but looking at how the market is progressing, there's kind of two options for me. Well, three really. Either one, I don't trade it at all. Two, I do a live recording like I did last Monday when I took a 2022 model trade. Or three, maybe I just come back live. So I'll probably take my dogs for a walk, have some lunch, and then make a decision. But regardless, I so appreciate you being here. Thank you for not ghosting me. Thank you for being here. And I'm sorry I was not engaging with you, but I will be back. Just don't listen to what I said unless you want to bust your account. Yeah, Yes, Christo, for sure. We know you're a jokester. You bring the comedy to the session. That's great. Slim Boy, look for SMT for Friday, price on 4-hour, 1 hour, and Monday. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some interesting things to be looking at with regard to SMT as well. And yeah, 4-hour, 1 hour, and Monday. Yeah, I think this afternoon could be, it doesn't mean it'll be a success, but it might be worth to come back and trade this afternoon. So we'll see. So anyway, thank you everyone for being here. So many new faces, and it was wonderful having you here. I'm glad I ultimately did get to see that you were here and chat with you a little bit. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope this Mindset Monday was helpful for you. If you do have comments or questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat here or in the comments section. I respond to all comments and questions. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again later this week. Everybody take care. Thank you so much.